Hello everyone, my name is Zenitsu and I'm back with another Digimon deck profile video. So today I'm going to be taking a look at a BT-05 deck, and it's definitely a really interesting and really powerful BT-05 deck because it has just a really unique combo that wouldn't be possible without the cards from BT-05. So it is going to be a purple CresGarurumon combo deck, and it is definitely a really powerful combo deck, and thanks to the people over at the Digimon 2020 Discord group for pointing out the combo and helping me build the deck, because it definitely is looking like it's going to be a really interesting deck to be playing around with. So, going over the deck, starting with the Digitama, I'm going to be running one copy of DemiMeramon. So, DemiMeramon is a very fantastic consistency tool for the deck to be playing around with, because he has this nice inheritable ability of when deleted, you get to draw one card and discard one card. So, again, just drawing cards and discarding cards is really good for purple, just because it allows you to see more cards out of your deck, and it allows you to specifically try to set up your trash, so that way you could do all of your trash-based synergies. But because of how the combo works and everything that we're doing with the deck, Gigimon just is going to be the main Digitama of the deck, and that's why we're running 4 copies of him, because he has this nice inheritable ability of, during your turn, once per turn, when another one of your Digimon is deleted, this Digimon gains plus 2000 DP for the turn. So we're only going to be utilizing this ability once on the main Mega that we're going to be utilizing him with. So just the fact that we could still get the buff off on our Mega is the primary reason why we want to run Gigimon. So that way we can ensure that our Mega is as powerful as we possibly can. And because we're going to be utilizing digi-burst, getting rid of him after we utilize his ability doesn't really matter. So he's just one of the better cards that we have. Next, on to the rookies, I'm going to be running 3 copies of Ghostmon. So Ghostmon's a pretty okay Digimon for the deck, just because it interacts with Digiburst, which we do have a little bit of Digiburst in the deck. So this has a nice inheritable ability of during your turn, when this card is trashed due to activating a Digiburst ability, then you get to return this card to your hand. So this is pretty okay, even though purple normally wants cards in the trash. With Ghostmon, it doesn't necessarily matter, because you still also want to have cards in your hand. So that way, if we need to discard a card, we have Ghostmon to discard, or if we just need to have another level 3 to continue some of our plays because we ran out of level 3s, then Ghostmon coming back to our hand is definitely a good thing. So even though this card might seem a little counterintuitive because purple wants cards in their trash more often than not, Ghostmon is actually pretty okay, but that's again why I'm only running him at 3 copies. Next, I'm going to be running 4 copies of Guilmon. So Guilmon is a really interesting Digimon for the deck to be playing around with, just because we do have a whole bunch of self-sacrificing synergy, and he has this nice ability where he has an on-delete ability. If he was deleted by an effect, then we get to gain 1 memory. So gaining the memory is really, really important in this deck, just because, again, we're playing with a whole bunch of self-sacrificing synergies, and to set up our primary combo, we definitely need to have as much memory as we possibly can. So Guilmon just really helps us fix our memory. Next, I'm going to be running 4 copies of Gabumon. So this Gabumon from the starter deck is really, really good, just because he has this nice inheritable ability of when attacking, we get to draw 1 card and discard 1 card. So very similar reasons on why we like DemiMeramon is all the same reasons why we like this Gabumon, just because he is a great consistency tool, and with this Gabumon, we're trying to go up into our Megas, and it makes our Megas just that much better. And then the last rookie of the deck is going to be 3 copies of Dracmon. So Dracmon is a really important card for the deck, but we don't want to see the card too much. That's kind of why we're running him at 3. But the fact that he has a very powerful on-play ability where we get to return an option card that costs either 1 or 7 back to our hand is really, really good, just because he fits very, very nicely with the combo, and he's pretty much the primary reason why the combo even works to begin with. So this is just a really fantastic card, and is definitely one of the most important cards in the whole deck. You could bump him up to 4 and play around with the ratios and play with some other cards, but I just felt like 3 was a good number. Next, on to the champions, I'm going to be running 2 copies of Garurumon. So this version of Garurumon is really, really good for the deck because he has this nice inheritable ability where during your turn, once per turn, if another one of your Digimon gets deleted, then you get to gain 1 memory. So this is primarily in the deck just because we do need to gain the memory back, and then on top of which we do have just a whole bunch of self-sacrificing synergies, so the fact that we're always going to be gaining the memory back off of our cards definitely makes Garurumon a really good and really important inheritable ability to have. Next, I'm going to be running 4 copies of Devimon. So this Devimon is really powerful just because he has the retaliation ability. So retaliation is going to be one of the primary ways that we have to remove the opponent's Digimon. We do play a couple of other removal cards, but just having Devimon as some extra insurance for his really powerful removal ability is definitely really good. And then on top of which, not only does he have the retaliation ability, he also could give the retaliation ability. So that just adds to the value, making our higher levels just as threatening as he is and just as powerful as removal options and tools as he is. Next, I'm going to be running 2 copies of BlackGrowlmon. So BlackGrowlmon is basically almost in here for the exact same reasons as Garurumon. He has almost the exact same effect, except this gives our Digimon Security Tech +1 instead of just gaining the memory back, so that way we could deal even more damage onto the opponent. And then the last champion of the deck is going to be 4 copies of Devimon. So this is the starter deck Devimon, and he's really only in here just because he is going to be the primary blocker of the deck. And not only is he a really good blocker for the deck, he also is a really good tempo tool just because we could evo for him for 1. So if we really need to utilize him for that evo for 1 just to get into our higher stages faster, we can. Or if we just want to sit on him to act as a blocker, then we also could do this as well. Next, on to the ultimates, I'm going to be running 2 copies of SkullMeramon. So SkullMeramon is really good just because he's an overall solid tempo and efficiency card, just because he is a value vanilla. Next, I'm going to be running 2 copies of LadyDevimon. So LadyDevimon is just another very fantastic card for the deck to be playing around with overall, just because she has this really powerful when digivolving ability. We get to draw 2 and we get to discard 2. So drawing and discarding is, again, just a really good way for filling up our trash and getting through our deck faster, so that way we can make our plays even more powerful than we could if we were to just self-mill. And then on top of which, she even has a really powerful inheritable ability where during your turn, once per turn, when you use an option card, we get to delete one of the opponent's level 3 Digimon. So we are going to be running a couple of different option cards, so having some extra removal potential on LadyDevimon is definitely really good. And then the last ultimate of the deck is going to be 4 copies of BlackGrowlmon. So BlackGrowlmon is a really nice Digimon just because he has so much good synergy with the deck. He has the main ability of digi-burst 3 in case we need to utilize his digi-burst ability, where we get to play a level 3 purple Digimon from our trash for free. We don't get its on-play effects, but most of the time we're just trying to get a level 3 if we're trying to utilize this Digimon's Digi-Burst ability, but most of the time we're actually not going to, and we're going to try to save it for our main Mega. But in case the situation arises, we still have that option available to us. And then on top of which, what we're really playing him in the deck for is his really powerful inheritable ability where he has a nice when attacking ability. Once per turn, we could delete one of our other Digimon to unsuspend this Digimon. So the theme of the deck is going to be centered around CresGarurumon and just trying to make him multi-attack because he naturally has security attack +1, and we have some really interesting combos and ways of doing that, and BlackGrowlmon is definitely a really powerful card to have him multi-attack with. Next, on to the Megas, I'm going to be running 3 copies of Tactimon. So Tactimon is a really fantastic supporting Mega for the deck, just because he has so much utility and so much application. So he has a really nice when attacking ability where we get to choose one of the following effects, and then if we have no other Digimon in play, then we get all of the effects instead. So his 3 effects that we could possibly choose from is we could gain a memory, or this Digimon could get plus 2000 DP, or we could delete 3 of the opponent's level 3 Digimon. And then, like I mentioned before, as part of his ability, if we don't have any other Digimon out but him, then we get all 3 of these abilities. So he's just really powerful, especially if we're trying to multi-attack with. So pair him up with WarGrowlmon, and then we could delete our other Digimon to trigger his when attacking ability, so that way we get the benefit of standing him up to utilize his ability again. And it's just really powerful card, and he has just some great synergy with the deck. But the main mega of the deck is going to be 4 copies of CresGarurumon. So CresGarurumon is a really good card just because this card is doing so much work for the deck, and definitely is one of the cards that is able to make this deck even possible. So we kind of just have to play him as the main mega, and he's definitely a really, really powerful mega for the deck to be playing with, just because of all of the things that he can do and all of his unique applications. So the first thing is he has 12,000 DP, so there's not a whole lot of purple level 6s that have 12,000 DP, so that already makes him a really standout card, just because he's going to be able to live through the security checks more often than not against the opponent, and especially if we pair him up with any boosts, then he's only going to be that much more threatening for the opponent. And then on top of which, he also has the main ability of Security Tech +1, so Security Tech +1 just allows us to deal more damage faster, and if the whole idea is trying to utilize multi-attacking in different ways, then multi-attacking CresGarurumon hitting multiple security can definitely be very, very dangerous because he could close out the game relatively quickly. And then on top of all that, he even has a really powerful main ability of digi-burst 2, where we get to discard 2 Digivolution sources from this card, and then we get to utilize his ability to play a level 3 purple Digimon from our trash for free. So what's really powerful about this ability compared to a lot of other purple res effects is the fact that we do get the on-play effect, so that's kind of like why we're running Dracmon and why Dracmon is a huge combo piece, is because we want to utilize his ability to res Dracmon, so that way Dracmon can do some insane things and set up some insane combos. And the fact that we could do this multiple times definitely means CresGarurumon can be an absolute nightmare for the opponents to deal with, and definitely help close out games faster depending on if we're able to fully build our combo and fully utilize our combo. Next, on to the options, I'm going to be running 2 copies of Trump Sword. So Trump Sword is a really strong option card because it is one of the primary ways that we have at deleting the opponent's Digimon, especially big threats that we can't deal with otherwise. So it has this really solid main ability where we get to destroy one of the opponent's active Digimon. So this is kind of like a slightly weaker version of Gaia Force, but the fact that we're running Devimon means that they always have to be aware of, are they going to try to delete my Digimon with Trump Sword, or are they going to try to delete my Digimon with Devimon? So there's that whole mind games into that. And then on top of which, its security effect activating its main effect could also be really, really devastating depending on how the board state goes, and it's still just a really solid option card that also just so happens to have synergy with Dracmon. So all of that is feeding into why I'm going to be running Trump Sword as the primary removal option of the deck. Next, I'm going to be running 3 copies of Demonic Disaster. So Demonic Disaster is one of the primary combo pieces of the deck, and is definitely a really powerful purple option card for us to be playing, just because of how we're going to be utilizing the card. So what the card does is it's a 1-cost option card, so it's already relatively cost efficient, and then it has the really powerful main ability where we get to delete one of our Digimon to unsuspend one of our purple Digimon. So this is how we're going to be doing a whole bunch of damage, because it's basically a option card to just allow us to restand our Digimon to attack again. So this is the option card that's allowing us to multi-attack. And then it also has a really nice security ability where we get to play a purple level 3 Digimon from our trash for free, but we don't get its on-play abilities. But the last option card that I'm going to be running is going to be 2 copies of Deathclaw. So Deathclaw is another really nice cost-efficient option card, just because it's another 1-cost option card, so it synergizes with Dracmon, and then on top of which it has the really powerful main ability where we get to delete one of our Digimon to delete one of the opponent's level 4 or lower Digimon. So this is really good at deleting those pesky blockers, and we already have a whole bunch of self-sacrificing synergy cards, so we're already doing stuff that the deck kind of already just wants to be doing. And then on top of which it has a really good security effect where we just get to delete one of the opponent's level 4 or lower Digimon. So its security effect is almost the exact same as the main effect, we just don't have to delete one of our Digimon, so this card is going to be useful no matter where it is, and like I said again, it is a 1-cost option card, so it does have synergy and combo potential with Dracmon. And then the last card of the deck is going to be the only tamer we're going to be running in the deck, and that's going to be 2 copies of the Purple Matte Ishida from BT-02. So this is a really good tamer for the deck to be running because he is the memory fixing tamer of the deck. So we definitely do want to try to fix our memory and have as much memory and be as memory efficient as we possibly can. And then on top of which, he even has a really powerful when played ability where we get to return a purple option or a purple Digimon from our trash to our hand. So this way he is acting as another consistency tool, so that way we can always make sure that we have the cards that we need. So going over the combo of the deck, the combo is going to involve these 3 cards. We have Dracmon, CresGarurumon, and Demonic Disaster. So the whole point behind the deck is to support this combo the best that we possibly can, because it's definitely a really cheeky and a really cute combo, and if it's able to go off and it's able to be 100% successful, then it's going to be really, really devastating for the opponent because it could potentially end up with the opponent losing the game. We're going to be running CresGarurumon as the main mega because he's going to be swinging with security tech +1, potentially break 2 security, and then if he lives, then we could utilize his digi-burst ability to res Dracmon from our trash, so that way we could use Dracmon's ability to get a Demonic Disaster from our trash as well. So what we're going to be doing with Demonic Disaster is we're going to be sacrificing the Dracmon so that way we could restand or unsuspend the CresGarurumon so he could swing again, and then if he breaks the security and survives again, then we could just rinse and repeat this combo to res another Dracmon, to grab another Demonic Disaster, to get another attack off with CresGarurumon. So literally that's kind of why everything in the deck is the way it is just to support this combo. And then there's just a whole bunch of other cards you could potentially think about running with the deck, just because the deck still has its own different levels of flexibility. So you could think about utilizing Tapirmon, because Tapirmon is just one of the better sacrifice fodder cards, because he has this nice on-delete ability where we get to draw 1 card. We could also think about utilizing Gigimon just because we know we're going to be attacking into the opponent's security, and depending on the matchup, they could potentially gain memory out of their security, so Gigimon could definitely help mitigate some of that risk. We could also think about utilizing Labramon. So Labramon is really nice just because it's filling a very similar role to Tapirmon, where it's good sacrifice fodder because after we utilize its on-play ability, then the card really isn't doing anything, and its on-play ability allowing us to draw 1 card and discard 1 card is still pretty good. We could think about utilizing Meramon. So Meramon is a really fantastic Digimon just because he's a good tempo tool because he has this Evo for 1. We could also think about utilizing CresGarurumon because if we're already playing with a whole bunch of self-sacrificing synergy, then CresGarurumon just another really good removal card on a Digimon body, just because his on-play ability allowing us to delete one of the opponent's level 5 or lower Digimon for deleting one of our own is still really, really good. We could think about utilizing Garurumon. So this is the Garurumon from BT-02, just because it's doing the exact same thing as BlackGrowlmon as an inheritable, and having multiple copies of this inheritable ability just increases the consistency of us seeing that ability. You could also think about utilizing Mastimon, just because Mastimon does have a really nice res ability where we do still get the on-play abilities, so that's a really huge factor that goes into wanting to play this card as a good supporting mega, on top of which it also has like pseudo burn in this style of deck, where we're taking away some of the opponent's security just by digivolving up into Mastimon, and that could matter just because it means that we need to deal less damage in order to close out the game faster. We could also think about utilizing Anubismon for very similar reasons why we're running Mastimon, just because the res ability still allows us to play our on-play effects, so that is a huge aspect that goes into this card. Plus Anubismon is an absolutely insane card, allowing anything we res to have the rush ability, so having it have rush just allows us to aggro out the opponent even more, so if we don't feel like we need to attack anymore with CresGarurumon, then anything we play from our trash with Anubismon on the field definitely can help close out the game. We could think about utilizing Millenniumon, just because Millenniumon is an absolutely fantastic Digimon and still has some decent synergy with the deck, so it has a really nice removal ability attached to its when digivolving effect, which again, removal is just really, really good in case we need to try to stall or deal with potential problems or threats we couldn't otherwise. And then on top of which it has a really nice when deleted ability, where he basically just reses himself as long as there's any Digivolution sources in him, so that way we could utilize him as a solid card to self-sacrifice with, just because we know he's going to be replacing himself. Another really powerful level 7 that you could think about running in the deck is Omnimod Swarthdi. So Omnimod Swarthdi, not only is it a security Digimon, but he also has a really powerful when digivolving and on delete ability. So if he does come out of the security, then we could utilize his on delete ability, and then if we really just need to digivolve up into him, then we have that option available to us as well. You could think about utilizing some other options. So we have Night Raid. Night Raid is just another generic res effect. Unfortunately, we don't get there on play effects, but just having the ability to res something to sacrifice it later is really, really nice. You could think about running Heat Viper, just because Heat Viper is another self-sacrificing card where we get to destroy up to 2 of the opponent's level 4 or less Digimon for the price of one of our own. All of these option cards, keep in mind that I'm highlighting, aren't as efficient as the ones that we're going to be running in the deck, but they're definitely really good cards to think about nonetheless, depending on how you want to build and run the deck. You could also think about utilizing Back for Revenge, because Back for Revenge is really nice just because if we're already going to be sacrificing our cards, then Back for Revenge allows us to replay those cards that we just sacrificed. Unfortunately, we don't get there on play effects, but sometimes depending on the card that we're sacrificing, it might not matter. We could also think about utilizing Jack Raid, because Jack Raid is just a really decent card. The longer the game goes on, the better this card gets, but the earlier the game is, then the worse this card is. But regardless, just being able to gain memory off of this card is just still really, really good. Then you could think about utilizing Hell's Gate as another alternative removal card. Then, in terms of other tamers you could possibly tech in, you could tech in the Purple Mimi, just because we are going to be playing option cards, and she could gain us a memory back for utilizing our option cards. And then, similar to gaining memory back for doing something, the Purple Mat from the starter deck also can gain us some memory back for deleting our Digimon. So, in the right context, this is almost the same thing as Purple Mimi, and they're just still very fantastic cards that you could think about utilizing. But for the most part, this is just my interpretation of the deck, and it's definitely looking like it's going to be a really fun and interesting deck to play. So that's all I really have for this video. As always, I'll have the deck list down in the description below, and feel free to tell me your thoughts down in the comments below. And don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for more content, and I'll see you in the next video.